So today we're playing with Martin's KTM, and what we're going to be doing to this is we're going to strip it because we're putting on a Denali CANsmart controller and a pair of Denali D3 lights and a SoundbombHorn horn. A couple of points of reference here for anybody with a 21 onwards 1290 KTM. If you're running any wiring forward from under the seat, the tank comes off. Big beast, so that needs to come off to run the wiring through, so that's a major chunk of work. And Denali will tell you that there isn't a Soundbomb mount for the 21 onwards KTM Super Adventure, and you can only use the Soundbomb Mini. But I'll come to that later, but we have developed our own Soundbomb mount to allow the fitting of a split Soundbomb, so looking forward to showing you that later. Anyway, let's get the spanners out. Okay, so we've got the bodywork off, now about to remove the tank. Some people will advocate just running lighting wires, etc. under the panels over the top of the tank. The challenge you're going to have then is that, apart from looking like a dog's dinner, when it comes to a valve service, the tank comes off at the KTM dealer, so he's going to have to remove all that. Is he going to reconnect it? Will he connect it back in the same way that it should be, or that you're happy with? Becomes a lottery. So go through the pane, take the tank off and run the wiring up under the tank on the frame. It's the only way. So there it is, 23 litres of monstrous fuel tank. And actually it's what, 2, 4, 6, 8 bolts I think. So it's quite easy, a couple of connectors, just save yourself the pain. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, or if this is a short video you won't have heard it, Denali do not list a SoundbombHorn mount for the 21 onwards 1290 Africa Super Adventure. So here's one we had made, and basically this mounts the compressor on this side of the bike, but basically up under here from the pillion footrest mount to a trim bolt mount. Well, I'll show you that in a second when it's all on. Comes with a mounting kit which is very complex. It's countersunk M8 bolt and an M5 longer bolt to go through the frame into the bodywork. So it's quite simple. Let's get it installed. The horn itself, we're using the Denali Soundbomb. It's a big bike, it's a huge bike, but there is no space on it to mount a sound bomb. So we're going to be using the Split Soundbomb, which is the same horn but separated into 2 parts for easier packaging. So the compressor will mount onto the Moto-Mate bracket, and then the horn part itself will mount to the frame of the bike. Right, okay, so we've got all the components here for the Soundbomb mount. First thing I'm going to do is, that is the bolt that came out of the KTM footrest mount. This is the rearward one, and I'm going to replace that with a longer M8x30 stainless steel bolt with a washer. So, because obviously we've got the thickness of the material to go through, so it's going through there, so we need the longer bolt. So right, let's just assemble the compressor up onto the mount. So literally countersunk bolt through there, just literally turn a couple of threads onto the nut and then slide the horn over. So the nut is held captive in the mounting aperture for the horn, and then tighten it up. So that is nice and solid. We've got a couple of cable tie slots in there just for peace of mind, so I'll just put a couple of ties around the whole assembly just to make sure nothing can drop off or fall break free. You've got to love a cable tie. So just pull those up and just cut those off. So as we're using the Split Soundbomb, that's the aperture where the hose goes on to join up to the horn, and obviously the connections are on that end. So that end is going up, oops, sorry, wrong bolt. So there's the longer bolt up through there, and that's going up on this footrest mount here. Just put that in loosely, and then this is the aperture for the bolt there. The mount of the horn is going up on this panel bolt hole in the subframe. So it's up through there. The mount is on a slot so we can get the right, if there's any tolerance on there, and literally just wind it up. Right, there you go, all mounted solid. The chain guard doesn't come up that high to foul that, and it's inside, it's outside of the edge of a tarball, so it's nice and free, and also the panniers still go on without any interference. Right, so for the horn part of the sound bomb, that's going to go in this aperture here, so just pop this panel off, and I'm going to use the two cable ties that are in the mounting box, so they'll literally tie the frame. But first of all, just going to degrease and clean the frame, and then put some black tape around there just to protect the paintwork. Even clean customers' bikes for them. And then with the horn in place, we can then just work out what length of hose we need to link the two together. So, literally. And if anybody frowns at the use of cable ties, these are really heavy duty industrial ones. I'm just going to turn them around the back so the heads are out of sight, and that is really rock solid and doesn't move anywhere. There you go. So now we just need to work out to run the hose. So what I do is typically come out of the hose spigot, which is actually on the top, and loop round behind the frame rail and down to the horn behind the foot peg. So it's all out of sight and nicely hidden. Okay, so horn's mounted in place. The CANsmart controller is going on this panel here, wired round to the battery and picking up off the diagnostics port as usual. However, the distance from there down to there is actually quite short, and this is the harness that is in the box for the CANsmart controller for the horn. Now clearly we can use this and just hide the slack away, but on the grounds that everything's locked in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this harness so we haven't got so much loose wire to hide on the bike. Where's my cutters? Okay, a quick operation and we're now down to that, so that should make the job a bit nicer. With the KTM CANsmart controller, the horn isn't triggered by a CAN bus signal within the bike. It actually picks up a signal from the KTM horn. So this little wire here needs to connect up onto the KTM horn, which is down under the steering head, and then run back to the CANsmart controller. And with KTMs, the earth is the brown, so we want to be connecting this one onto the non-brown wire terminal on the horn, which I believe off the top of my head is green. Confirm that for you in a second. Yep, it's a light green. So it's provided with a little piggyback terminal. So literally coming from underneath. You're not really going to be able to see this, I'm afraid. So this green wire will plug onto the horn terminal, like so. And then that plugs onto the horn connection there. So that will connect to the CANsmart controller. We need to get the drill out, and we need to put a couple of holes, one on each side. You can see there's a circle here which KTM tell you on the KTM light kit to use as the position, so I'm doing exactly the same, but it needs to be big enough for the connector to go through. So we need to come down a bit because we need a bigger hole. A bit more. Still. Same on the other side. Where's my connector gone? Yeah, up one side because it's the other side. It's the mating half to come through, and that's got a shroud on it. So that will allow the shroud to go through. Okay, so here we have the CANsmart controller. It makes the system fantastic in terms of the functionality, but we'll set all that up and take you through it in a minute. But basically it's two battery terminals, positive, negative, and on the KTM this connector here is what picks up the CAN bus instructions running around the bike, and that plugs into the KTM diagnostics port, which is buried down in the back here. Just release it, so that's that one there. Okay. And then you'll see we've got a little green wire here which picks up on the horn trigger wire that we ran through earlier. So that plugs in there, that plugs in there, two to the battery, then everything else plugs into the 4 channels. Nice and simple. Okay, so that's the battery connected up. So you can tell the battery's connected up. We've now got a little green LED showing on the CAN bus controller. And when I connect it into the diagnostics port, you'll see that that will then start to flash. So let's go into the back. So now you'll see it's flashing. Okay. Don't worry, it all gets tidied up at the end. So at the moment it looks like a dog's dinner in here. Okay, so we have our light harnesses. So, so this is the left light, which I normally use on the white circuit. Old habits die hard. That one snapped in. This is the right light, and that will be on the red circuit. And then blue I use for the horn. Right, basically that's connected. I'm just going to quickly just suspend the lights from the front so I can connect them up. I can't actually bolt the light mounts on yet until the panel work goes back on. So I'll just do that and then we can plug the laptop in and configure it all up. Okay, so lights are connected up, horns connected up, CANsmart's plugged into the diagnostics port, so we have a CAN bus signal. I've opened up the software for the CANsmart controller, so we just connect a USB lead into the front, like so. And apologies, this is the world's slowest laptop. Here it comes. Right, so the first thing it will do is it will ask you to update the software. So yes, update firmware, ignition is off. This just ensures so that when you first install a CANsmart controller it has the latest firmware, so any bug fixes or anything like that is all applied to your device, so it's well worth doing. There are generally two steps to the upgrade, so it just installs them and then it activates them before then connecting through. So it's just updating step 1. Here comes step 2. Right, so that's now complete. So click OK. Right, so the CANsmart controller has 4 channels which are basically coloured, so you've got red, blue, yellow and white. It is set up as defaults what it thinks, so it's set up 1 light pair, a horn, a brake light and a light pair 2. But we're not going to be doing that, so here are the 4 circuits. There's the first circuit, there's the second, third and fourth. Right, so the horn, as we can see here, is on the blue circuit and the horn is enabled. That's fine, that's what we want. We're not running a brake light on this installation, it's just 2 lights and a horn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the red circuit, is going to be right light 1, and then I'm going to say the white circuit is left light 1. If I apply that, you'll see now we've got the red and the white circuits combined there, and we can now set the intensity. So basically for the defreeze, anything that I do with the high beam, so whether I use the flash to pass light or hit the high beam switch, whether it's daytime or night time, the defreeze will be at 100%. The D3 lights are about 2000 lumens, so 50% at daytime is fine, that won't upset anybody. But at night time we don't want them so bright, we want to turn them down to 20%. Okay, so we've set them so that when the turn signal is active, the light will go off. When you press the horn, they will strobe. They will strobe on flash to pass. That's not a single press of the flash to pass light, that's 3 quick flashes in succession. And also to inversely flash when the hazard lights are active. And that's how they're set up. So we'll now go away, switch it all on and see if that does what it's supposed to do. So make sure you get the cowls behind the fan guards. Yeah, it's tough. Right, so we have the new Moto-Mate light mounts. So pop those up. We've got longer bolts for the extra thickness of the material, and if I could see up here, I'll get it in the hole. That's brilliant. Thank you. So I'm going to just turn the focus a bit. Thank you. So we're not using the hanging brackets on the on these mounts. So just drop those off. So the actual light clamp goes directly into the mount itself. Right, okay, so CANsmart controller is installed, it's set up, the wiring's all tied away, panel's back on, so we're virtually done. So just a quick run through of the system. So ignition on, lights have come on with the ignition. These are set up so in daytime mode they're running at 50%. When it gets dark, when your dipped headlight comes on, so DRL goes off, dipped headlight on, these will automatically drop down to 20%. No buttons on the handlebars to do that, just a standard KTM switchgear. So anything I do with the high beam, then they're straight up to 100% day or night. And then if I indicate on the right light's gone off, so I'm not washing the indicator out, left light stayed on, and vice versa. And then filtering through traffic, use your hazard lights, and that strobes them inversely to the indicators, so they're running at 100% when the indicators are off, and then they just strobe away alternately. It's a great safety aid for making people aware of your presence. And then there's the dreaded SoundbombHorn horn. So proper horn, but as you've got a quick brief flash there, when you hit the horn the lights will strobe as well. So that's the CAN bus functionality, and it's great. And that, I believe, is that. See in the high or the low position. Okay, so we're all done and buttoned back up. So 1290 Super Adventure S, we've fitted a Denali CANsmart controller, which allows the bike to operate and have additional functionality of auxiliary lights and horns without upsetting the CAN bus system. So we've got a pair of Denali D3 driving lights mounted on our own Moto-Mate light mounts, which allow them to sit nicely into the bodywork without being too sunk into the bike. Obviously got the wiring from those running back through the CANsmart controller, and then around on this side we've got a Denali Split Soundbomb, utilising the Moto-Mate compressor mount, which hides it there behind the footrest hanger. Plenty of clearance for the panniers to go back on, no interference issues with the chain guard or the tyre, and then the horn part of the Split Soundbomb is there, and again wiring back up and under the seat through the CANsmart controller. Nice little job.